welcome back to Superman Station, and we're talking to Kevin, who is leading near Kenya. Kevin, I'm really curious to learn about your crypto journey.
It was funny. I had a friend, always starts with a friend, a very ambitious and interesting friend who basically talked to me about cryptocurrencies. And I didn't understand what that was. So he was sort of trading at the time, but that was back in 2015. And he got me into it, and I was just kind of like, I guess I was playing around with it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And it was only 4 years later, I was in school, I was stressed, trying to figure out what to write my thesis about. And my friend called me, that same friend from 2015, he called me on the phone, he was like, Kevin, I have something to tell you. And I was like, what's up, what's going on? And he's like, well, I'm collaborating with this protocol called Near, and they want to scale, and they basically really want to go to Africa, but they don't really know how to navigate the space. And I know that you know the market, and you'll be really interested in kind of contributing to that. And he was like, if you can show them a model and how to extend the foundation and the protocol. I mean, at the time it wasn't even called the foundation; it was just a protocol. They might fund you for that. And I was like, oh, for real? It's like, yeah, sure. And basically, long story short, I did that. And then basically this came about near Kenya.
Tell me a bit more about near Kenya. What are you guys working on right now?
One is that we're building the expansion model for extending really the foundation, the ecosystem across the continent. And the second one, which I'm really proud of, and that's basically our contribution towards a solution of developer retention. And it's a job searching site. Very simple, for talents, like Upwork, for Near.
And I've heard that community is really, really big in Africa in general. I'm not sure about Kenya. I know a lot about Nigeria, but can you tell a little bit more about the market in Kenya for crypto projects and also adoption of cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So really what I noticed before joining that space, there's a few, let's say, foundations that worked in our favor. The first one, and the most simple one, is the familiarity of mobile money payment systems, right? Of course, we know there's not a lot of, majority of people are unbanked. They don't have access to traditional banking systems, but yet they still need to be able to send and receive money. So how do you do that, right? So basically there's this tool called M-Pesa. It's widely known. It was actually founded in 2004 and it gained popularity around 2008. And that was a solution to be able for anyone to still be able to send and receive money even though you don't have a bank, only with your phone number. So that's really cool. So that really allows for, let's say, a mindset of a peer-to-peer transaction, your peer-to-peer interaction. People are familiar to that. So we use that in our advantage. So that's sort of one of these trends that you can notice, not only Kenya, different countries, that really you want to look at what are the existing realities that you can sort of hop or piggyback on, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So you want to piggyback on what is working and improve it. So yeah, that's in a nutshell.
It's like, as you said, there are lots of people who are unbanked and they're looking for a solution to do transactions. And how is cryptocurrency right now? Is it what is the adoption rate?
Kenya was seen as had the highest volume of peer-to-peer trading.
Oh, wow.
In the world.
Wow.
Before that, it was Nigeria, because Nigeria has a lot of people.
Yeah.
But Kenya is up there. And that's really interesting. Because what that means is that these are basically people who are, of course, selling and buying cryptocurrencies. Mm-hmm. But the fact that this trading volume is so high means that not only the crypto space is onboarding more people, right? But also it is building the foundation to start adopting and cultivating a building mentality. You know what I mean? Because when people are familiar with the tools, you can really sort of like transition from just consuming into, hey, let's improve this or let's improve that, and start kind of like motivating and encouraging that. And that's really what we are focusing on as well. It's like, it's a significant number, right? And that's kind of like what we were trying to push forward, not only with Near Kenya, but also as we engage with our community members and as we do events, that kind of stuff.
I wanted also to ask if, for example, I go to Kenya right now and I start talking to people about cryptocurrencies, about Bitcoin, will they understand what I'm talking about? Just ordinary people in the street, not necessarily involved in the crypto or tech industry, will they know what cryptocurrency is?
No, they will not. And there's a simple reason for that. It's still very new. The crypto bubble first of all, when people say like, oh, there's a crypto event in Kenya, what they really mean is Nairobi. It's in the capital. Outside of the capital, there's no crypto activities.
Okay.
To that extent. So that also explains how other ecosystems, not only near, although near is different because we did something different, but other ecosystem, they go to the capital to find the same people at the same events and fishing in the same pool for the same developers that everybody knows and the same faces all the time. But the capital only counts about 5.7 million people. The entire nation has 54 million people. So what about the rest, right? And so and even within the capital, there's really bubbles, right? And you literally notice the same faces. And we really want to change that because there's so many more, as you know, there's a very young demographic in Africa, generally speaking. But we got to target those people. Because if you really want to have a mass adoption, as of course Near ecosystem is looking to have as a goal, we need to expand and go outside of the capital and find those very smart, very intellectual students and talents and artists and developers and builders and entrepreneurs to bring them into the ecosystem and give them value to what they want to build. And that is lacking. So the answer is no, but that's why, I guess, yeah.
And is Near trying to capture the population, the entire country's population? Because you said Nears are doing something different.
Yeah, so what we did with Near Kenya is actually pretty awesome. Our first event in the nation of Kenya was outside of the capital. Very intentionally. Why? Because we actually were part of the first ever in history crypto tour in Kenya, which is really cool.
I like it, crypto tour.
I know. So the idea was, because there's a lot of there's a lot of big cities outside of the capital, right? Look at close to Lake Victoria, which is the largest lake in the continent. Has a city called Kisumu. There's at the coast, Mombasa, which is one of the biggest ports in East Africa. Basically the channel to bring all the goods into Central Africa. And other hotspots, other university towns and whatnot. So we said, listen, let's do this crypto tour. And interesting enough, we had one other partner who was there, and that was Binance, because they understood the value of it. And so that's why we need to move aggressively to be present. And so the different thing that we did with Near Kenya is that we build a community first outside of the capital and then circled back around and finished inside the capital. So we basically grabbed pockets of community members. And that's how in a few months we've managed to grow a community for over 2,000 people. Rarely happens. Because these are new people.
Of course.
So I think that's really the edge that Near has had, because it never happened. There's no other ecosystem that's done it before. Not Polkadot, no Algorand, no Celo, none of them, because I see most of them come to Kenya first. If it's not Nigeria, they come to Kenya. Maybe South Africa, but it's different. So I see how they navigate. We see that. And the big difference is that we are local, right? And we are on the ground consistently.
You mentioned that Near did a crypto tour. How did you guys try to onboard people outside of capital?
Traditional advertisement that we know, generally speaking, in Kenya, I would even say East Africa, a lot of the countries in Africa, doesn't work. I know that because I tried and I failed. The way you really bring in people is literally knocking on doors. So what we had is like this. Imagine this is a college hall, okay? We had a stand like that. We had literally a banner. We had flyers. And we would literally go and just grab people. Be like, hey, would you be interested to come to this event? It's about blockchain. Don't worry about it. You don't need. We will explain what blockchain is, but there's free food and free drinks. That's all you gotta know, and bring your friends. Literally, that's how we brought people in, because people don't understand what crypto is like that. So it doesn't make sense to do these fancy Google advertise because nobody's gonna come.
Did you get any feedback from people about NIR? Like when you bringing them in to these events, explaining what NIR is about, what is a common response that you would hear from people?
They get excited.
Yeah.
100%. And there's a few reasons for that.
But does he truly understand what's that about?
Well, they understand what they get exposed to, okay? So our angle at the beginning, right, was very much based out of education and awareness. So we were extending what NIR education at the time was doing to the continent, right? So people saw that, they got exposed to that, and that was their, let's say, the entry points, if you will. And they understood that, because that's why we showed them, right? And that's good, because, it allows for people to learn and on the self-paced and whatnot, and you can single out those who are committed and those who are not, right? So that they did understand. And definitely you have, a few people who are, they don't really need us like that, because they get it. You know what I mean? In fact, our real target audience don't even need us like that.
Yeah.
Right? The curious people, of course, we want to provide a space and a place for them to get educated. But we really wanted to sort of like provide them that entry point of saying, hey, if you are an artist, I would love you to, kind of meet or see what Mintbase has been doing, look at all the different artwork that's been going on, look at what they're building, that's super cool. So they see that, and that's what they know. They don't need to know about necessarily DeFi or all the layers, because it's too much, right? They just want to focus on what they like. They don't care about other stuff like that, right?
It's an interesting thought that people need to focus on some things they like, and not being exposed or maybe brought into some things that they don't need at that moment.
Because sometimes I feel like we're trying to complicate things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be complicated. We don't have to overcomplicate it. And I think based out of this the fact that you want to sort of bring in the crypto awareness, people are going to stick around when they basically get to find what they really like in the space.
That's a wild space. So everyone got a story. What's your story?
Circling back to that friend, 2015. In fact, no, that was late 15, early 2016. So him and I were back in school, right? I studied philosophy. My first major was philosophy. And remember how I told you about, he was talking about cryptocurrencies and whatnot,
Yeah.
and he was talking about trading and whatnot. So, I trust him, right? He's my friend. Although I didn't understand what it was, I trusted him. And at the time, I invested, he told me to invest in like a few chains. And we were interested in like supply chain management. Like that's kind of like that smart contract utility. We were interested in that. So I had invested in a few supply chains at the time on Binance. It was so different to invest at the time as opposed to now. Like I used to be paranoid to lose my keys because like that's the only. I'm telling you, like we used to have an actual Word document with all our passcodes and key phrases and all that, and print that out, put it in an envelope, and put it in a bag, because I was just paranoid that like somebody's gonna steal it, and I had no money. Like there was no reason to get paranoid. Anyways, I just got excited. So, anyways, long story short, I invested in a few ones. Then remember how I told you like then I kind of left space, whatnot. I had completely forgotten about that, the fact that I had invested back in 2015. In fact, I'd completely forgotten about my accounts, right? And then looking into 2019, that's 4 years later, I get these emails, these random emails by this thing called Binance. And I was like, what? I know what Binance is, but I forgot about it, whatever. And I kept receiving these emails, and I'm like, I don't even have an account. Like, why do I get these emails? And I get the emails to like reactivate it, whatever, it's an update. And I ignored it. And then eventually I said, you know what, let me look into it. I opened to it, and I looked that I actually did investment back in 2015, completely forgotten that I had a wallet, completely forgotten that I had stuff in there. And I believe I was 10x my investment.
Wow.
And I believe I had what was it? So $30,000 just sitting there. And I was like, dude, what?
Thank you, Kevin, for your time.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Enjoy your time. Thank you so much for getting me here. Appreciate it.